There's a lot of stories to cover coming out of the weekend. Nancy Pelosi has gone to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, urging them to take away nuclear codes from an unhinged Trump. Without invoking the 25th Amendment, Nancy Pelosi went to the Joint Chiefs of Staff asking for a coup, a literal and very seditious coup, to remove the standing president from power. With almost 10 days left, Pelosi pressed the Pentagon on safeguards to prevent Trump from ordering military action, reports the New York Times. But short of the cabinet invoking the 25th Amendment or impeaching and convicting the president, it would be unconstitutional to defy legal orders from the commander-in-chief, experts note. The definition of sedition, of course, being conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch, which, as of January 6, was still President Trump. I have to ask if this is the result of the votes emboldening her and her base. She was recently reelected to Speaker of the House. Ilhan Omar had been declaring herself to be drafting articles of impeachment last week. At that time, just 14 days left were remaining for the 45th president. What happens to this madness once Biden sits in the Oval Office? It's hard to say. I personally give him 2 years before Harris takes over, as that would give her the ability to complete 2 full terms herself, which I have no doubt she's planning already. The Democrats thirsty, and right now they've got the conservative side of this country on the ropes. In social media news, Parler has been taken down by Amazon web hosting services, and Trump himself, as I reported in my last video, has been banned from almost every social media you can think of. You and I, as conservative-minded people on the internet, are next. Once again, violence was cited as the reason to ban the platform. CNN Business reports Parler, the alternative social media platform favored by conservatives, now finds itself virtually homeless on the internet. Amazon, Apple, and Google have all booted it from their platforms in a span of a little more than 24 hours. Amazon said it would remove Parler from its cloud hosting service, Amazon Web Services, Sunday evening, effectively kicking it off the public internet after mounting pressure from the public and Amazon employees. The decision, which went into force on Sunday at 11:59 Pacific Time, will shut down Parler's website and app until it can find a new hosting provider. Parler website was not accessible as of Monday. In a letter obtained by CNN Business that was sent to Parler Chief Policy Officer Amy Pikoff on Saturday, Amazon Web Services said in the recent weeks it had reported 98 examples to Parler of posts that clearly encourage and incite violence. And again, this incite violence line is everything to do with the 6 and is what they're trying to impeach Trump for again. The letter includes screenshots of several examples. We've seen a steady increase in this violent content on your website, all of which violates our terms, Amazon Web Services wrote. It's clear that Parler does not have an effective process to comply with the AWS terms of service. This time it's just 98 examples out of a user base that had around 210,000 installs just last Friday in one day. Before being removed from the App Store, it was number 1. After being removed, Jack Dorsey celebrated, of course. Little heart emoji, noting that Parler was gone. Besides being in poor taste, it reinforces the idea promoted earlier that the left doesn't want to earn your vote or business. They want to outlaw your choice and your alternative. It's open. It's going to continue and get much worse from here, especially after the 20th. Twitter, meanwhile, Jack Dorsey's company, is experiencing a $5 billion loss since banning President Trump. While many are left scrambling for a new platform, Gab has experienced more growth over the last weekend than during the entirety of his existence, in no small part due to an edit button, but also something they're calling the liberal hate machine. Gab tweets, "For months we've been backing up every reply to Donald Trump's tweets. We call this project the liberal hate machine. It conducts sentiment analysis to detect threats of violence, slurs, and more. There's a lot. It's searchable too. Stay tuned." It's got a cool little emoji with the sunglasses there. We have over 100 million tweets collected of the very hateful people on this website, making the most disgusting and highly illegal replies to the president and other conservatives. 100 million tweets on Twitter versus the 98 that got Parler kicked off of Amazon services. Obviously, Twitter and Amazon are 2 different companies here, but it got removed from the Apple Store and Google. Will they similarly ban Twitter for these 100 million tweets? What will 100 million tweets of violence do for the big tech oligarchs in this country? Will they even respond to it? I'm very anxious to see what happens with this liberal hate machine from Gab. I can't wait to use the website. The people behind it are facing some persecution right now. I'll cover it in another video, but I'm behind them all the way for now. Once their website's up and running, I'll be Mecca 7 over there. I have to argue that Trump was the best thing to happen to the media. His ratings were an absolute goldmine, and it's led to a lot of low-effort media, biased, and even worse, the self-destruction, as I see it, of the profession of journalism. What I've seen, and I offer this anecdotally, the truth has taken a backseat to the spotlight of being able to dunk on the president, score points on him, or to gain some notoriety from their peers for their catty swipes at him and other stories. Most famously, Jim Acosta, who not only champions this idea, but seems to be celebrated for it. Jim Acosta was interviewed about why he battles Trump in the first place. My sense of it is that there aren't two sides to a story when it is right versus wrong, the White House correspondent said of reporting on the Trump administration. Right and wrong is not the job of a journalist. It's simply presenting the fact. This is clearly lost on the current generation of reporters seeking the fame of Woodward and Bernstein, which, of those two guys, at least one of them can't seem to go a day without throwing gate onto something. Primary role of a journalist is to gather information, write news pieces, and present the news in an honest and balanced manner. Ethical journalism should be accurate and fair. Journalists should be honest and courageous in gathering, reporting, and interpreting information. Interpretation of information needs to have a hard line on it before it becomes translation with an objective. On his way to Texas this morning, Trump responds to continued calls for his impeachment by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. The second time they've gone for impeachment. Much like Jim Acosta, no doubt seeking some sort of historical notoriety for the resistance. Trump's quote on the situation was, "As far as this is concerned, we want no violence, never violence. We want absolutely no violence." And on the impeachment, it's really a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in the history of politics. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, Trump said before boarding Marina One. For Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to continue on this path, I think it's causing tremendous danger to our country. It's causing tremendous anger. I want no violence. When asked by a reporter from C-SPAN about his role during the 6 Capitol riots, or protests as I like to refer to them, and his personal responsibility, Trump responded, "If you read my speech, people thought that what I said was totally appropriate." Speaking on those Capitol protests, Thomas Sowell weighs in from townhall.com, and he puts it very simply. It's amazing how many people seem to have discovered last Wednesday that riots are wrong, when many of those same people apparently had not noticed that when riots went on for weeks or even months in various cities across the country last year. For too many people, especially in the media, what is right and wrong, true or false, depends on who it helps or hurts politically. Too many media people who are supposed to be reporters, acts as if they are combatants in political war. Someone once said that in a war, truth is the first casualty. That has certainly been so in the media, and in much of academia as well. You can't put it much more simply than that. Meanwhile, during a Trump-Pence meeting, there's been no sign of a resignation, and nothing to do with the 25th Amendment. Speaking of Pence, for the first time since before January 6th, the two met for a 90-minute meeting that was reportedly friendly. Again, in my personal opinion, there's no calls for this to actually happen. The 25th Amendment can't be used as a soft impeachment or a replacement for expediency, and it seems to me a last-minute effort, ill-advised and based on almost nothing other than the first overreach that comes with the confidence of the supermajority the Democrats are enjoying right now. If they're willing to impeach the president with 14 days left on the clock to score political points, the next 2 years are going to be an absolute nightmare for the conservative part of this country. I encourage you to support your local politicians and to get involved. Rally behind and support America First Republicans where you can. And most importantly, don't be afraid to live American. If you remember the last time we got a Democrat supermajority, we ended up with Obamacare. And with some of the most liberal people in the administration, the current political climate in the media is going to be much worse this time around. Stay American, and I'll see you on the next video.